There is some technical issue, so camera is not working. Sorry about this. So we start today's reading. Srila Prabhupada's book, The Science of Self-Realization. We'll offer our prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurumilitam Vena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Reading from The Science of Self-Realization, Chapter 4 in the sub-part 4. The topic is the art of dying. Today's topic is the art of dying. See, there are many institutions. They teach everyone that how to live, the art of living. But in this book, Prabhupada is mentioning the art of dying. To one leave a body, there is an art, not just like a die. No, roadside like the animal, cats and dogs, they'll also leave their body. They'll also die, but not like that. There is an art for dying us, just like for living there is an art. So to learn that art, many institutions are there to teach that art. But this dying, the quitting the body at the end of one life, that nobody will teach. But here, Prabhupada is mentioning the art of dying. So we'll proceed, we'll see how Prabhupada is giving beautifully with logical, with examples, what is the art of dying. Although the media are generally obsessed with violence and death, our perception of death and dying is superficial. Srila Prabhupada observes, as long as a man is in the full vigor of life, he forgets the naked truth of death, which he has to meet. How can we effectively deal with our own death? How can we effectively meet our own death? In this essay, which is first appeared in the old Back to Godhead magazine, April 20, 1960, Srila Prabhupada explains how the ancient teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam provide a practical answer. See, this from Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada is referring, then it is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this art, and it is giving a practical example, practical answer. And this was published in Back to Godhead magazine in the April 20th April 1960. A small child walking with his father goes on inquiring constantly. He asks his father so many odd things, and the father has to satisfy him with a proper answer. Prabhupada is giving there in one example, just like a man is walking with his small child. So while walking, child will ask many questions to father, which are not relevant at all. But the father's duty has to satisfy the child with the proper answer. When Prabhupada is given his own personal example, when I was in young father in my household life, I was overflooded with hundreds of questions from my second son. When Prabhupada was walking with his second son, so that time Prabhupada is saying he was overflooded with hundreds of questions by his son, who was Prabhupada's constant companion. One day it so happened that a bridegroom's party was passing our tram car, and the 4-year-old boy, as usual, inquired what is the big possession was. He was given all possible answers to his thousands and one questions regarding the marriage party. And finally, he asked whether his own father was married. When Prabhupada and his second son both are traveling in a tram car, and they happen to see a bridegroom's party is going, passing through their tram car. So at that time, Prabhupada's son, he will ask many questions about the marriage and about the marriage party to Srila Prabhupada. And the Prabhupada has to answer, possible answer he has to give of his question. And then at last, the son is asking to Prabhupada that whether his own father was also married. This question gave rise to loud laughter. Prabhupada laughs from the elderly gentleman present, although the boy was perplexed as to why we were laughing. Everyone was laughing. Then that small boy, 4-year boy, is started wondering why they are laughing with this answer. Anyway, the boy was satisfied by his married father. Then Prabhupada gives the answer. The lesson, what is the lesson from this incident? The lesson is, since a human being is a rational animal, he is born to make inquiries. Since a human being is a rational animal and is born to inquire about. But what is the actual right inquiry? The greater the number of questions, the greater the advancement, knowledge, and science. Sorry. The whole material civilization is based on this original large volume of questions put by young men to their elders. When elderly persons give proper answer to the questions of the youngsters, civilization makes progress, one step after another. The most intelligent man, however, inquires about what happens after death. Here is the most important question. The most intelligent man is inquiring about what happens a person after the death. And the less intelligent makes lesser inquiries, but the questions of those who are more intelligent go higher and still higher. Among the most intelligent of men was Maharaj Parikshit, the great king of this entire world. Maharaj Parikshit was the great king of this entire world who was accidentally cursed by a Brahmana boy to meet death from the bite of a serpent within 7 days. The boy who cursed him was only a boy, yet he was very powerful. Why he is powerful? Because he was a son of Brahmana, and that that age, the Brahmana's boy also has such a power. And because he is a son of a Brahmana, he was also Brahmana and he was very powerful. And because he did not know the importance of the great king, because the boy was ignorant, and the boy foolishly cursed him to meet death within the 7 days. This was later lamented by the boy's father, who the king had offended. When the king was informed of the unfortunate curse, he at once left his palatial home and went to the bank of the Ganges. Everyone knows the history of this, that nevertheless, in short, I'll just explain. When Maharaj Parikshit was on the tour, when he was ruling kingdom, when he was on the tour, so he happened to visit one hermitage of a sage, and there Maharaj Parikshit was fully thirsty. He was searching after water, and then he goes to the hermitage, and then he says the sage is busy in meditation. So when he calls sage, can you give me water? One time, two times, three times he calls. But the sage never responds because he was fully absorbed in meditation on Lord Vishnu. So this angered Maharaj Parikshit. Actually, this was the plan of Supreme Lord Krishna. There is the higher plan. So even though the Maharaj Parikshit was a very great, a pure devotee of Lord Krishna, he is a pure devotee of Lord Krishna, but still he became upset and became angry at the sage. And nearby he found one dead snake, and that dead snake he put it on the neck of the sage, and he went off. The king left that place. When the king left the place, this news reached to that son, the Brahmana's son, who was playing with boys. The this news he heard that king had come to his hermitage and he has put a dead snake on his father's neck. So, to counteract this insult, he takes little water in his hand and he curses king. He was the ignorant boy. He was not knowing the position of the powerful king. But because he is a Brahmana's son, he also was very powerful and he cursed. He takes little bit water, he sprinkles the water, and he says that let the king meet with a death within 7 days. And how? By a bite of a serpent. Then later on, the Brahmana boy realizes that no, I have done a great mistake. I was not supposed to do this, but I have done a great mistake. Then he goes to father and informs the father. Then father was the Brahmana, was this great sage. He was sorry to hear this about the foolish boys cursed to meet a death within 7 days for Maharaj Parikshit. So this was the background. And when this news reaches to Maharaj Parikshit about this curse that he has got cursed by a son of Brahmana and he has to meet a death within 7 days. As soon as he hears this, he will immediately leave his palatial home and he goes to the nearby the bank of the Ganges to prepare his imminent death. See, if any one of us gets a notice of death, let's say 7 days or 7 weeks or one day, we start preparing ourselves. What will be? No, how to do this, how to take care of son, how to take care of no daughter, how to do bank balance. This is there, that so many things. But here is a perfect example. This example, perfect, it is befitting for the art of dying. And what is that? Immediately the king leaves his palatial home. He was the king. When he hears this news that only 7 days are left for his death, immediately he left the palace and he went to the bank of the Ganges. Because he was a great king, almost all the great sages and learned scholars were assembled at that place where king was fasting prior to leaving his mortal body. At last, Shukadeva Goswami enters there. He was the youngest contemporary among all the sages. He also arrives there and he was selected as a president for that meeting. Although the Shukadeva Goswami is his great father, who were present, Vyasadeva was present, Narad Muni was present, many great sages were present, but still Shukadeva Goswami was selected as the president for that meeting. The king respectfully offered his obeisance to Sukadeva Goswami, the principal seat of esteem, and asked him the relevant questions regarding his passing from the mortal world, which was to take place on the seventh day. Henceforward, the great king, as a worthy descendant of the Pandavas, Maharaj Parikshit was the descendant of Pandavas, who were all great devotees, and he placed the relevant question in front of the great sage Shukadeva Goswami. My dear sir, you are the greatest of great transcendentalists, and therefore I submissively beg to ask you about my duties at this moment. Here, Maharaj Parikshit is asking Shukadeva Goswami the most important question. The question is, what is my duty at present moment? I am just here. The Maharaj Parikshit was just on the verge of his death. Therefore, what should he do at this critical hour? He's asking to Shukadeva Goswami, please tell me, my lord, what should I hear? What should I worship? Or whom should I remember now? He is asking, no, what should I do? What is my duty? What should I do? What should I hear? And whom should I worship? Whom should I remember? See, these are the most important questions. Please tell me, my lord. He is asking from Shukadeva Goswami, a great sage like you does not stay at home of a householder more than necessary. When the sages goes to house for begging, they'll not stay for more than necessary. And therefore, it is Parikshit Maharaj's good fortune that he has kindly met Shukadeva Goswami at the time of his death. So he's requesting, please therefore give me your directions at this critical hour. The great sage, having thus been pleased, requested by the king, answered his questions authoritatively, for the sage was a great transcendental scholar and was also very equipped with godly qualities. Since he was the worthy son of Badarayana or Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva's another name is Badarayana, the original compiler of Vedic knowledge, Vedanta Sutra, Vedic literatures. Shukadeva Goswami said, My dear king, your inquiry is very much relevant and it is also beneficial for all people of all times. See, Sukadeva Goswami is answering such a beautiful way. He's saying that your inquiry is very much relevant and it is beneficial not only for the king, not only for the sages present there, but it is beneficial for all the people on the universe for all the time, not only during Satyuga, not only during Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga. It is for all the people and for all the time. Such enquiries, which are the highest of all, are relevant because they are confirmed by the teachings of Vedanta Darshana, the conclusion of Vedic knowledge, and are Atmavid Sammataha. Other words, liberated souls who have full knowledge of their spiritual identity put forward such relevant inquiries in order to further information about the transcendence. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the natural commentary upon the great Vedanta or Sharirika Sutra, which were compiled by Srila Vyasadeva. The Vedanta Sutra are the topmost Vedic literature and they contain the basic inquiries about the transcendental subject of spiritual knowledge. Yet, although Srila Vyasadeva compiled this great treatise, his mind was not satisfied. When Vyasadeva compiled entire Vedic Vedas, but he was not satisfied. Then he happened to meet his spiritual master, Srila Nad Muni, who advised him to describe the identity of the personality of Godhead. Upon receiving this advice from his spiritual master, Vyasadeva meditated on the principle of Bhakti Yoga, which showed him distinctly what is absolute, what is the relativity or Maya. Having achieved perfect realization of this fact, he compiled the great narration of Srimad Bhagavatam, the most beautiful Bhagavatam, which begins with actual historical facts concerning of life of Maharaj Parikshit. The Vedanta Sutra begins with key inquiry about the transcendence Atato Brahma Jidnasa. This is the key inquiry about the transcendental knowledge. What is that? About Atato Brahma. It is called Atato Brahma Jidnasa. One should now inquire about Brahman or the transcendence. As long as a man is in the full vigor of life, he forgets the naked truth of death, which he has to meet at any moment. He has to meet the death at any moment. Thus, a foolish man makes no relevant inquiry about the real problems of life. Everyone thinks that he will never die. Every one of us thinks that we never die, but death is assurance. Although he sees evidence of death before his eyes at every second, here it is distinction between an animalism and humanity. An animal like a goat has no sense of its impending death. Although its brother goat is being slaughtered, the goat being allured by the green grass offered to it will stand peacefully waiting to be slaughtered next. If you see in the slaughterhouse, there will be one goat already the slaughtered man has slaughtered. The butcher has slaughtered it and it is hanging, and the fellow goat, the other, standing there and just satisfied with the bunch of green grass. He is satisfied with a bunch of green grass. But he is that animal, it cannot inquire. No, my fellow brother has been slaughtered and is hanging there, and I'm here. I have to scream, shout, run from this place. No, the animal cannot do this. But whereas the human being has that sense, that developed consciousness is there, and then human being immediately start screaming. If somebody sees that somebody is going to harm, immediately start screaming, no, and he will start defending either, or he will run from there. But in actuality, there is no difference. Prabhupada is mentioning there is no difference between this animalism and this humanity, because the animal is getting slaughtered and it is just simply satisfied with green grass offered to it. Similarly, the man also does not make relevant inquiry about this death, which is real problem, but still he thinks, no, I'll not die. Even though in front of his eyes, practically in day-to-day life, he is seeing that people are dying. No? If one's father has died, grandfather has died, but still he is thinking, no, I'll not die. So there is no difference between the goat which is standing in the slaughterhouse and the man who is outside thinking that I will not do, but at any moment our time will come. But he is not making this relevant inquiry about how to solve this problem. This goat cannot make the inquiry. No, I don't want to die, but I have been forced, and no, how to get out of this? No, it has not developed consciousness, but a human being has a developed consciousness, but still he is not making an inquiry. When he is not making an inquiry, then there is no difference between the animal and a human being living. On the other hand, if a human being sees his fellow man is being killed by an enemy, he either fights to save his brother or he leaves, if possible, to save his own life. That is the difference between a man and goat. An intelligent man knows that death is born along with his own birth. When someone has taken birth, then the death also is born along with him. He knows that he has to die and he is already dying every second. And that is the final touch. Death is the final touch, will be given as soon as the term of his life is finished. He therefore prepares himself for the next life or for liberation from the disease of repeated birth and death. He has to solve this problem. Otherwise, he is also the animal goat, like which is satisfied with a bunch of green grass. A foolish man, however, does not know that this human form of life is often after a series of births and deaths imposed in the past law of the nature. See, due to the law of nature, actually there are 84 lakh species. Yonis are there. How many? 84 lakh. And among 84 lakh, only 4 lakh species are the human being. So we can understand how important is this human form of life. It is not so easy to get. It is very, very rare. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante. It is Bahunam Janmanam. It is after many, many, many births one gets this human form of life. And in this human form of life, if one is not inquiring about the real problem of birth, death, old age, and disease, then he is no better than the animal. The human life provides the opportunity to know the eternal fact or the truth. Thus, the very beginning of Vedanta Sutra advises that because we are this valuable form of human life, it is our duty now to inquire what is Brahman? What is Brahman? What is absolute truth? We should not be satisfied with this relative truth. A man who is not intelligent enough does not inquire. If I'm not inquiring all these things, then I'm not intelligent. I'm not an intelligent man. I'm satisfied with a bunch of grass similar to that goat which is standing in the butcher's shop. A man, instead, he inquires about many irrelevant matters. A man inquires many irrelevant matters which actually not concerned his eternal existence. From the very beginning of one's life, he goes on inquiring from his father, from his mother, from his teacher, from professor, from the books, or so many other sources. He just go on inquiring, but he inquires which are irrelevant matters, which are not at all relevant for him. And what he inquires? His inquiries is how to earn the bread. But he does not have the right type of information about his actual real life. As mentioned before, Parikshit Maharaj was given a warning notice that he would meet death within 7 days. And he at once left his palace to prepare himself for the next stage. The king had at least 7 days at his disposal in whichever to prepare for death. But as far as we are concerned, although at least we know that our death is sure, we have no information of the death fixed for the occurrence. I do not know whether I am going to meet death at the next moment. Even such a great man, Prabhupada is given the example of Mahatma Gandhi, could not calculate that he was going to meet his death with the next few minutes, nor his great associates. He had many associates, they could guess his impending death. Nonetheless, all such gentlemen present themselves as great leaders of the people. It is ignorance of death and life that distinguish an animal from a man. A man, in the real sense of the term, inquires about himself and what he is. Wherefrom has he come into this life and where is he going after death? Why is put under the troubles of their threefold miseries, although he does not want them? Nobody wants miseries. Does anyone likes disease? Does anyone likes to become old? No, nobody will no likes these troubles, these threefold miseries. But it has been imposed right from one's childhood. One goes on inquiring about so many things in his life, but he never inquires about the real essence of life. This is animalism. There is no difference between a man and an animal as far as the four principles of animal life are concerned. For every living being exists by eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. But only the human life is meant for relevant inquiries into the facts about the eternal life and the transcendence. Human life is therefore meant for research into eternal life. And the Vedanta Sutra advises one to conduct this research now or never. If one fails to inquire now into these relevant matters about life, one is sure to go back again to the animal kingdom. See, human being has a choice. Human being has a choice whether he can go back to the kingdom of God, back home, back to Godhead, or can go back to the animal kingdom, the other 80 lakh unis of life, which is given by the laws of nature. Therefore, even if a foolish man appears advanced in material science, that is, in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating, and so on, he cannot get free from the cruel hands of death. By the laws of nature, one cannot get free from the cruel hands of death. The laws of nature works under the three gunas, three modes under goodness, passion, and ignorance. Those who live under conditions of goodness are promoted. Here are three stages. Who lives under the mode of goodness? They are promoted to the higher planetary systems or spiritual status of life, and those who live under condition of passion, they remain stationed in this material world wherever they are. And but those who are ignorant, they are sure to be degraded into the lower species of life. The modern setup of human civilization is a risky because it offers no education of the relevant inquiries into the essential principles of life. Like animals, people do not know that they are going to be slaughtered by the laws of nature. They are just satisfied with a bunch of green grass or a so called jolly life, like the waiting goat in a slaughterhouse. Considering such a condition of human life, we are just trying to make a humble attempt to save the human being by the message of back to Godhead. See, Prabhupada is saying that we are trying to make a humble attempt for what? To save the human beings through this message, the message of back to Godhead. This method is not fictitious. If there is at all to be an era of reality, this message of back to Godhead is the beginning of that era. According to Sri Shukadeva Goswami, the real fact is that a Gramati or a person who has tied himself like the goat meant for slaughter in the business of family, society, community, nation, or humanity at large in regard to the problems of necessities of animal life, namely four things: eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. And where no knowledge about the transcendence is no better, he is no better than an animal. He may have inquired about so many things like physical, political, economical, cultural, educational, similar other matters which are temporary and they are material concern. But if he has not inquired about the principles of transcendental life, he should be regarded as a blind man driven ahead by uncontrolled senses, and about he has to fall into ditch. What happens? A blind man leads other blind man. Both are where they land up. They land up in a ditch. That is the description of the Grahamedi. Who is a Grahamedi? Grahamedi is simply busy in solving the problem. What are the problems? Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. He just busy in solving these problems, and he is not worried about the real, actually problem of life. And the opposite to this Grahamedi is the Grahastha. The Grahastha Ashrama, the one who has taken a shelter of spiritual family life. He is as good as a sannyasi, a member of the renounced order of life, regardless of whatever one is. He is a householder or a renunciant. The most important point is that his relevant inquiries. The sannyasi is bogus if he is not interested in relevant inquiries, and a grasta or a householder is bona fide if he is inclined to put forward such inquiries. The Gramady, however, is simply interested in the animalistic necessities of life. By the laws of nature, the Grahamedy's life is full of calamities. By the laws of nature, the Grahamedy's life is full of only problems, only calamities, and he is busy in solving those problems. Whereas the life of a Grahastha is full of happiness. Why? But in the modern human civilization, the Grahamedis are posing as the Grahasthas. We should therefore know who is actually what. A Gramadi's life is full of vices, problems, because he does not know how to live a family life. He does not know that beyond his control is a power who supervises and controls his activities, and he has no conception of his future life. The Gramad is blind to his future and has no aptitude for making relevant inquiries. His only qualification is that he is bound by the shackles of attachment to his family life, to all these false things which he has contacted in his temporary existence. So, this is the difference. Prabhupada is giving the difference between a grasta and gramadi. One, a grasta is called a renunciant, a sannyasi, because he is inquiring about and he is leading a spiritual life, a spiritual family life. But Gravamedi is busy in four things: eating, sleeping, mating, and defeating. Exactly similar to the animal. So, this is the difference. So, we have an option to choose whether I should live an animal life or a life actually human being. Human form of life, having got this human form of life after 84, after 80 lakh yonis, it is not an ordinary thing. It is very great. And after even no obtaining this human form of life, still in human form also, if one is acting exactly similarly as animal and is not inquiring about the real problems of life, then he is no better than the animal. So we'll end here today's reading Srila Prabhupada's books, The Science of Self-Realization. Thank you everyone. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.